Welcome, adventurers, to a brand new ShawnSetGO video. Today, we're going to be talking about one of those topics that I think comes across for all of us in the mythics and raids, and really if you're grouping with anybody, and that is pugs. I mean, pugs have been a thing since really the beginning of WoW, but I think we're in a special era of WoW where pugs are at an all-time criticism, but also an all-time high of being used. You have more and more people not grouping with pre-mades, like fully pre-mades at least, and most people play in at least partial pugs. Now for the few who are already gonna call me out and say like, well, I do guild runs all the time, I promise you, that's not the entirety of the player base. But for those of you who are sitting here and you're watching this video, please do consider giving a like and subscribe. We're gonna be making constant WoW content throughout the holiday season, and I would appreciate the sub. But let's get started with the video. So to begin, this post came up which kind of spurred this conversation, which is pugs, I will die on this hill. If you apply to my group when I'm solo or in a pre-made and get accepted and don't respond to the greeting, you will be removed from the group. The correlation between failed runs and people who do not communicate, even at the most basic level, is clear to me. Not to mention, it is rude and I expect people to do better. I usually extrapolate small behaviors to bigger personality traits, e.g. if you are rude to a server in a restaurant, you're a bad person, period. If you always arrive late, you do not care about people at all, period. If you can't say hello to a group of strangers that's about to spend the next 30-40 minutes working together, you can't be relied on, period. I will die on this hill. And for what it's worth, when I talk about people always being late, it's just that, always. If people have been stressed in life, etc. So in essence, I get what they're getting at. Like the idea is that you say hello. Often, if someone's not responding, you know, to me, it's not necessarily a sign of rudeness. It's kind of more of a sign of ignorance. To look at party chat, if you have been running heroic, say, or you've been doing delves, you might not be used to it, or you just kind of stopped looking at it, especially for new players. Whereas the game used to be honestly a lot about that instant communication, and wanting to make that happen. Now the communication exists, but sometimes for the lower level from mythics and heroics especially, people just don't say a word, you know, so it's not really there. So I get what they're saying, but I do think this goes a bit far. This comment says, yesterday I joined a pug and greeted everyone in the party. It was only the leader and I at the point, so we did some small talk while the group was forming. It was enjoyable and made the group very pleasant. We timed the key and added each other as friends. Yeah, I would say most part, as long as you have a successful key, you'll add people. But I'm kind of in the boat of this, where it says, hey, yo, or hello, key is timed 99%. I would say people are willing to stay whenever things go wrong a bit. When this happens, like say there's like a couple of deaths, people are willing to stay. Sometimes if there's no communication, I feel like people have like no reason to want to stay for whatever reason. I got kicked because I attempted small talk while waiting for people to get into the dungeon. Yeah, that's rough. It's people's standards are different. Some people consider the small talk and the chatter to mean you're not taking it seriously. So I think it's kind of definitely a catch-22 in my opinion. I joined at +7 as a 628 red paladin with 2650 IO. I was the last invite. The party was like full. I said hi. I got booted 5 seconds later with no whisper or reason given. Yeah, that's rough. Good day, champions. If someone says that, honestly, that might make me sus. Howdy, lads, or ahoy, lads, are my go-to. Meowdy. Stop. Just stop with all of this. That seems like confirmation bias at work. If it fits your narrative, you notice it. Otherwise, you forget about it. Yeah, no, I think that I'm one to personally as a tank, when I make mistakes, I notify them. And the only time I talk, to be honest, it's crazy, is if people start messing up to where I'm having to do walkbacks. So once I start doing those and I start giving like tips and like, hey, you need to do this and stuff like that, I've cleared many a boss where I'm the only surviving member, maybe me and like one DPS or one healer, and everyone else is just cooked. Because sometimes you just get people who die early and you're just like, hey, like seriously, just grab the thing, or hey, seriously, just step out of that. So I don't take it that seriously, but yeah, no, I just I think that's crazy. Here's a weeko, so you never get kicked from this guy's group. Oh, to say something. That's funny. What is this? Hold on. I'm gonna wait for that to come up. I'm really curious. Is it gonna be send chat messages? Yeah, I had a feeling. That's funny. This is what's worse when you're at the stone and then two party members fly straight by you in the instance, then proceed to ignore you, asking them to summon the other two players. Speaking of which, this is a weird tangent, like side tangent. If you're doing world bosses for the 20th anniversary event, stop asking for summons. Just be in the area. This isn't a raid. Like, people don't want to summon you for a 15-second fight. It's just dumb. Just stop. Just be in the area. Just take a portal to Stormwind or Org and figure it out, man. It's not that difficult, but so many people summon. This is different. Mythics is different, but this, yeah, weird side tangent. So with that being said, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on, what do you think is your standard for whenever you're inviting people or whenever you have people? Like, do you have like a sort of routine, or do you what's your marker for a good or bad pug member? And what's like what's the thing that you personally like, what's your pet peeves? I'd like to know in the comments. But moving on, this says, welcome to the Pug M+ experience. It says tryouts by the dummies in Dornegal. Gotta see your rotation. Pretty rich coming from someone who isn't even 2.5k. Yeah, I feel like once you cross into that 2k barrier, you start getting like super sweats. Whether it's deserved or undeserved, it's hard to tell. Like whether they've earned it or not, it's hard to tell. Pugging is wild and full of such people lately. I'm a former healer main and switched to Devastation Evoker and currently just trying to farm crests up to upgrade my BIS items. I'm somewhere around 25-50 and getting declined for +8 keys just for the fact I'm not playing augmentation. On the other hand, the average pug party can't play bosses correctly and DPS are just dying. Like, yeah, I think it's like one of those constant curses of people are gonna go with their biases whenever you receive somebody in a pug. If you're not playing the optimal class, they'll assume that you're not going to fit the molds. I mean, with the exception, I think, of tanks and healers, because we're just the best. Bias. Uno reverse card, make him show you his rotation. Yeah, and it's like, no, you show me. Instead, ain't nobody got time for that. It's like interviewing for a job. A 9 fire mage, not enough IO to trust him. Frost probably sims better at that key level anyway. It does. Arcane does too. Dude wants a carry. Yeah. Pretty sure this is just sarcasm. 100% a joke. I mean, it's possible. I mean, some people take it super seriously. It's really hard to tell. I mean, like when it comes to pugs, the serious members is usually that one DPS in your group who has no business doing it. But I mean, occasionally it's a leader. Yeah, sure. But I haven't had that situation. Usually it's like the insignificant member, not the leader. Who does the dude think he is? The rotation is usually that people don't dodge, stun, CC, and interrupt. Honestly, yeah. I more than your DPS, I want you to stun, or I want you to interrupt. I want you to avoid fire, because that saves the healer, which saves me. Like that's just more important than everything else. I mean, yes, sometimes, of course, timers, but if you're not dying, it's gonna save you a lot more time for the most part. I mean, if we have like 15 deaths, it gets kind of like nerve-wracking. So yeah, no, for sure, I think that's always more important to me as a tank, is just don't die. Don't die, and don't stand in the fire and CC, because I can only interrupt so many times. And then I'm like, please just do something at this point. Because I think here's a downside like that we're not talking about that I think needs to be mentioned is that when you're in a mythic, people like the first post says like, you know, communication is key. And I think communication is really important. Don't get me wrong. But if things are flowing well, there's no need to communicate. Because if everyone knows what they're doing, you move on. Like I'll never know the Miss the Tyrannicide thing. I may get like the weak or whatever the thing is to get like the puzzle figured out. I'll never do it. But we never have to communicate. As long as one person got it, you know, we'll move on. I'm not going to learn it. I'm not going to learn it. I'm just going to stand there as a tank like, which one is it, guys? Because I don't know. But honestly, I think that sometimes when things start to go bad, it can be tempting not to communicate because you're like, oh man, I'm just going to waste more time by trying to show people what's going on. Like, you'll figure it out, hopefully, or it won't kill us, hopefully. So I think that's the main thing. It's like it's mythics aren't very conducive to that. I have said it before in previous videos that I think that there should be pauses. I think you should be able to pause the timer right before a boss fight to give you time to say buff up or just like, hey, make sure you're doing this. And then also, I think that if a member leaves the group, they bounce after the first sign of trouble, I think you should be able to pause as long as you don't do anything else. Like you're not trying to attack anything, then I think you should be able to wait until someone comes along. That's my thoughts with those things. I just think they're simple mechanics and it wouldn't affect the actual thing. It would just make grouping much better and able to recover from those moments. I think that to me would be great. So last post, this it says requirements for these pug raids are getting way too high. It says link birth certificates. This is wild. And this first comment, it literally took me so long to understand what it meant. It says this is unexpected Legend of Zelda lore. I was just like, what does that mean? But it's link. So dumb. I'm so done with linking stuff to pugs. Last time someone said a linked CC number and expiration for invite, and when I did, he asked for funny numbers on the back. He said LOL after I told him the numbers and ignored me. I guess numbers were kind of funny, but not that funny. I just spam apply now with much better results. Yeah, like honestly, sometimes I feel for DPS because you probably get under the most scrutiny just because the more someone knows about like a Mythic Plus run, the less likely they're willing to accept unoptimal or not non-good group comps, etc. So it's got to be tough for sure, especially if you're in a class that like really only requires one. You know, like if you get a shaman, you know, it's like, well, we don't need multiple shaman. Good thing shamans are good, and you could always use a shaman, like an extra shaman. It's not going to be a bad idea. So I would say that is about the bottom of his barrel as it gets. It's basically asking, are you a human and alive? I mean, yeah, I guess you could interpret that way. Like basically, are you not like a 13-year-old kid? You know, like I guess like I'm possibly human. Hold on, here we go. Human. I'm a light forged Draenei. That's pretty great. This is pretty standard. Usually give the last 4 of my social security number just to be safe. Next is death certificate. Yeah, that's what usually follows, right? I suppose. I mean, for the most part, I mean, these are of course, a lot of these are just funny and jokes, but I think that for the most part, the standard I think is increasing and will continue to increase as time goes on. For the most part, they'll require that you link achievement. For the most part, what I see in Pugs is like you have to have AOTC, and then the kind of understood Mythic Plus like Pug is like you have to have a certain ranking, like you have to have earned the Mythic rating up until that point. Like I would say like around a 2K rating to get into 8s and 9s, I guess, you know, like to go be at like then get closer. Like once you get closer to 10K, you definitely need 2.5K. Like that's pretty standard, or otherwise you're going to get rejected. So I would say those are usually the routines. But that being said, I mean, I do think that there's things that can be improved about the pugging experience. Most people just say like, hey, if you really want to run like to run a pug or run keys and you're not getting groups, run your own keys, and you'll figure it out. Personally, I don't subscribe to that, because I personally think if you're running a key, you should be the expert in the key you're trying to run, whether it's what DPS need to do, healers need to do, tanks need to do. Like, not that you just like you're telling a whole bunch of people what to do, but you're essentially the party leader. I think that's how it should go, and that's just my personal take on it, because I usually play tank, or I only play tank. So when I go into like my own key, or I'm running the key because people don't know what they're doing, I kind of take it from a party leader, raid leader perspective, rather than trying to just like hope everybody figures it out and kind of just go like, well, you need these standards. Like, as long as you're trying and you're trying to figure things out, then it's fine. But yeah, no, I think this is things have gotten a little bit out of hand, just a teensy bit out of hand when it comes to this, and you're having to link birth certificates and do rotations. But I mean, to be honest, when you're doing raids, these are things that you would probably do anyways, is show people your rotations. Like if you were doing your own group, because they want to make sure you're like not wasting their time. So honestly, just watch boss fights, guys. Just watch boss fights. And like I said, like more than DPS, it's more about surviving than anything else. Just don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die, and don't be like a corpse in combat. Like no A rotation, like no A rotation. I'm not saying you have to nail it every single time, but just do A rotation, something in there, and you'll be fine. So don't stress it too much. So if you enjoyed talking about pugs and these type of things, please do give the video a like and subscribe to the page. I appreciate all the support you guys have been given, and of course we've been growing, and I really do appreciate that. For those of you concerned, we have fixed our Discord page finally, so the roles should work appropriately. So for those of you who want to share WoW content, anything you want me to react to or talk about live on stream, we have a section in our Discord specifically for that, so you can kind of get all that out there, as well as it kind of steers some of the content I've been doing. So we changed a great deal of that. So if you haven't joined the Discord, now is the perfect time, because I have been holding off on doing that for quite some time, because Discord is daunting. Also, we're looking for moderators. So if you're a fan of Discord or know how to run Discord, currently looking for a moderator to just kind of make it like just kind of run things, and moderate things as appropriately as possible. So this is our Discord. It's Sean's Turtle Club, featuring Don. And then if you want to share in the sharing channel, it's the Daily Dad, where you can give suggestions as well as create threads. And it's kind of like our Reddit recap, if you've ever seen anything like that. But we have stuff there for WoW. We have rooms, voice chat, etc. So it's all there for you if you'd like to join. Discord links are typically available, but I'll try to make sure they're available in the description for this video. All right. Catch you on the next one. Peace.